softly creeping, left its scenes while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp, I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more, people talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs and voices never shared, and no one dared disturb the sound of silence. Fool said I, you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms that I might reach you. But my words, like silent raindrops fell, echoed in the wells of silence, and the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made. And the sign flashed out his warning, and the words that it was forming. And the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls, and tenement halls, and whispered in the sound of silence.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Resurrect the Republic, RTR Truth Media Reloaded. I'm your host for this evening, Lorri Anderson, and as you know, or many of you know, we have been covering the case of Tyler Whitman this week, who is a Navy veteran who was forced against his will to live in what is known as a CRCF, Community Residential Care Facility. And making matters worse is that Tyler is being forced to take a drug called Seroquel that is known, of course, to cause death and severe side effects. This drug is so dangerous, in fact, that the Department of Justice, 37 states, and over 28,000 individual private lawsuits have not only been taken up, but the company has settled with most of the litigants. Now, I'm not going to be covering Seroquel tonight. If you want to listen to Monday or Tuesday's show, we go in depth about the dangers of Seroquel. However, tonight's show is going to be about smart meters, and I'm going to explain to you several reasons why. Number one, Tyler Whitman, when he went in to get help from the Veterans Administration, was having many signs of the same effects, those symptoms that he was having, that was causing him such pain, that caused him to seek help, actually are symptoms of the smart meters. When I spoke with Tyler Whitman the first time, the first thing that I asked him after he told me the symptoms that he had was, did he live in a place that had smart meters? Each and every time, and from the time this began, he lived in a place, different places, and all were surrounded with smart meters. Now let's remember that one of the reasons this is so important to take up is when he did go to seek help, he saw a psychiatrist, and within 5 minutes of speaking with our Navy veteran, within 5 minutes, the psychiatrist said that he was schizophrenic. Now, you cannot diagnose a cold or a flu within 5 minutes. Once the psychiatrist diagnosed him as being schizophrenic, they sent him directly from where he was at into the VA psychological hold. A little bit after that is when they did a motion to the court to try to have him involuntarily committed because he was a danger to himself or others. All of this stemmed from symptoms that relate to the smart meters. So when you heard from Tyler last night and he felt that it was some sort of energy, either weaponry or something like that was going on, and we'll go later on into the week about energy weapons. He was not crazy. He was not schizophrenic. He was telling you the symptoms of what was going on, and because of being in the military, they know about direct energy weapons and different things. However, I don't think that Tyler maybe connected the dots that it was possibly from the smart meters. So I've put together some information tonight for you that I think is very important. But I also wanted to point out that in April 27th, 2010, the New York Times put out an article that was in reference to the Seroquel that they are forcing Tyler to take right now. And this was an exact quote from the Attorney General, Eric Holder, at the time. He said, quote, AstraZeneca paid kickbacks to doctors as a part of an illegal scheme to market drugs for unapproved uses, unquote. Kathleen Syllabus, who was Secretary of Health and Human Services at the time, said at an event in Washington, quote, the company promoted drugs for unapproved uses by children, the elderly, veterans, and prisoners, unquote. And as we know, Tyler is being forced to take the same drug that has been proven to be deadly, not by choice, but by force. Last night I was showing you that mainstream media was also covering other individuals when it came to energy, weaponry, as well as targeting. Because of time constraint last night, I was unable to play the rest of that clip, and I would like to get to that clip. After I play that clip, I'm going to list once again the list of symptoms that are related to the smart meters, the smart meter technology, and then we're going to listen to a clip of a very knowledgeable man who I will introduce before we get into that clip. It'll help you understand, but we're not going to just inform. Later throughout the week and throughout the next couple of weeks, we're going to offer some solutions to also help you with this. Because if you have any of these symptoms, It's not in your head. And one of the problems I see is that psychiatrists and psychologists are all too quick to lock you up for that money instead of doing their job and find out what's really going on and digging. That psychologist or psychiatrist could have easily looked into the symptoms, as I did, and I'm not even a doctor, to see that each symptom that Tyler Whitman had were the symptoms that are listed and well known to be caused by smart meters. That is one of the first things they should have looked into. If you would, Mike, please play LV2.
Sexual assault. Dr. Hall says what Verbeff describes is known as gang stalking. Indeed, he writes about it in his book, A New Breed, Satellite Terrorism in America. Verbeff is not alone. Others in San Antonio have contacted the I-Team and described similar types of occurrences.
The urine arsenic is above normal. We shouldn't have arsenic.
Linda Johnson says someone poisoned her water supply with heavy metals in northwest San Antonio. Then there's her story about the bracelet that went missing, then reappeared. Police, she says, have stopped listening to her. And like Verbeff, she too believes she's been sexually assaulted, although she never filed a police report.
I've gone to doctors many times, and I've been to the Rape Crisis Center for counseling, yes.
Many of these so-called victims of what Hall describes as gang stalking meet up on the Internet, finding comfort and information from others who say they too suffer from electronic stalking, mind control, and even rape. Loosely defined, gang stalking is where organized groups target and harass unwilling victims to the point of paranoia, leaving the victims to deal with skeptical family members and skeptical law enforcement.
This isn't stalking done by a former spouse or former boyfriend or someone that you know that's disgruntled at you, but stalking that's being done by total strangers in an organized fashion.
And some Internet links take you here to the book mentioned earlier, written by Dr. John Hall.
The book is fact. It's not a book of fiction. What I've wrote about is an isolated story here in San Antonio.
Dr. Hall says it is a story about himself and the harassment and rapes his ex-girlfriends allegedly suffered beginning in 1996. Dr. Hall believes the people behind it are well-organized operatives using government satellite technology to terrorize him and other victims.
All voicing the same complaints: organized stalking, weird electronic disturbances going on in their homes. Most of the women are complaining of drugging and sexual assault. So it's a big national problem.
Verbeff bought the book, and what she read, she says, caused her stomach to turn, because within the chapters in the story, she found similarities to her own situation.
I pulled out the book and I started reading, and I'm like, oh my God, it's exactly what's happening.
It's like turning the pages of your own story.
Everything.
Remember the doors, windows, even the clothes dryer taken apart? Page 35, third paragraph, talks about reassembling appliances. The drugged food and rape? Page 52 talks of concealing Rohypnol, the date rape drug, in drinks and food. The account in Hall's book is chilling, and the I-Team uncovered some truth to his story. San Antonio police reports indicate there was a rape reported in 2007 in the same quad of condos where one of Dr. Hall's girlfriends supposedly lived. San Antonio police say the condo rape remains under investigation. And Bexar County detectives say Verbeff's assault remains open as well. And although there are some interesting connections to Dr. Hall in the book, law enforcement won't and cannot say if Dr. Hall is even a person of interest. The I-Team thought the similarities were striking and asked him,
could you, in fact, be the person that's creating this mess for these women?
And that's actually one of the reasons why I got out of my ex-fiance's life, to make sure that they weren't victimizing her in order to get at me.
Dr. Hall says he's been targeted by the same groups. There's mention in the book of a conspiracy by the criminals and by fellow doctors. Dr. Hall says the Texas Medical Board retaliated against him for uncovering the gang stalking. The I-Team confirmed one local hospital suspended Dr. Hall's clinical privileges for 2 months in 2006. In 2007, the Texas Medical Board ordered 2 mental evaluations of Dr. Hall. The first came back normal, but a second evaluation found a probable delusional disorder and ordered psychiatric treatment. And in 2008, Hall's license was suspended, this time when he tested positive for cocaine. In the book, he explains the operatives drugged him with cocaine periodically. Dr. Hall's medical license has since been reinstated.
If you look nationwide, almost everyone that complains of this eventually gets sent to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrists don't look into the technology. They don't do any research into whether or not any of this is possible.
With his book published, Dr. Hall is taking his message nationally. He's appeared on cable TV shows.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hall.
Late night radio.
And our guest tonight, Dr. John Hall.
And even has his own radio program in the works.
There have been several people in my midst, obviously, that have been victimized, but if you look at it on a larger scale, it is a national problem as well.
Dr. Hall says the problem is gang stalking, seeking to victimize innocent women and sully his reputation for exposing them. For the I-Team, Joe Conger, KENS 5, Eyewitness News.
Dr. Hall's belief is that we all face some sort of terrorism in our lives that is mostly unseen and deadly. He contends criminals are tapping into our government surveillance systems to gain access to our lives and minds. As for the alleged rapes mentioned in that story, no one has been charged, but both San Antonio Police and Bexar County Sheriff's deputies say they continue to investigate.
Now that was back in 2012. Here, once again, are the list of symptoms that you can have when it comes to smart meters and the health complaints that go along with it. Sleep problems, insomnia, difficulty falling asleep, night walking, and nightmares. Stress, agitation, anxiety, and irritability. Headaches, sharp pain or pressure in the head. Ringing in the ears, ear pain, high-pitched ringing, concentration, memory, or learning problems, fatigue, muscle or physical weakness, disorientation, dizziness, or balance problems, eye problems including eye pain, pressure in the eyes, cardiac symptoms, heart palpitations, heart arrhythmias, and chest pain, leg cramps or neuropathy, arthritis, body pain, sharp and stabbing pains, nausea, flu-like symptoms, sinus problems, nosebleeds, respiratory problems, cough, asthma, skin rashes, facial flushing, urinary problems, endocrine disorders, thyroid problems, diabetes, high blood pressure, changes in the menstrual cycle, hyperactivity, or changes in children's behavior, and seizures. Many of these symptoms are symptoms of which Mr. Tyler Whitman, our Navy veteran, who is being held right now and being against his will, had. He had many of these symptoms, and as you heard on the mainstream media report that was all the way back in 2012, even though they're talking about targeted energy weapons and all of that, I played that so you understand that it is a true and real present danger to each of our health. It does exist. And what are we going to do to fix it? Tonight I'm going to be covering the issues of the smart meters. In a future program very soon, we will be covering some of the solutions. And if you will, we're going to hear a couple of words from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Hang with me.
Let me tell you how it's going to work, kids. You're working hard like your parents both did. Everything you earn by breaking your backs, we're going to redistribute when we make our fake tax. Hey, sit down, don't be a jerk.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
As a listener of RBN, you're surely concerned about being informed and being ready for whatever may come. Please consider the following questionnaire as a soul-jarring wake-up call. If you answer no to more than 2 of these following questions, you probably aren't going to make it through any major disruption in our country. The questions were compiled by people that have been there. Are you really ready? Do you own your own firearm for the primary defense and protection of you and your loved ones? Have you ever been professionally trained to stand against life-threatening behavior? Have you ever practiced enough to fire 500 rounds during a 2 to 4 day time frame, day and night? Can you load, unload, fire, and clear a jam in total darkness? Have all the adults in your household been professionally trained? Are you, life and death, comfortable with your abilities with pistol, revolver, shotgun, and rifle? Are you aware that everything that you do to prepare for an emergency is a waste of time, money, and energy? If you haven't honed your abilities to their highest level to protect and keep what you have, do you have the repair parts that will most likely be needed for each of your firearm, and do you have the ability to install those parts? Could you completely clean every firearm you own? Are you aware that your body won't go where your mind hasn't been? In other words, without proper training, followed by regular practice, you probably will not win a gunfight. Well, how did you measure up? Take the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to start correcting your deficiencies by receiving your Commander Lifetime Membership with Front Sight Firearms Training Facility. A one-time donation to RBN for $500 will give you a Commander Lifetime Membership at Front Sight as a tremendously huge thank you bonus. See details on RBN's webpage to make it happen. The clock is ticking. You had better be ready before it happens.
Like a storm growing across the horizon, there's a reckoning coming like judgment day. Finally we've been awakened from this nightmare. Voice upon voice, like a crashing wave. Can you hear us now? Can you hear us now? The soul of freedom is crying out. Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us now? We're speaking out. We refuse to remain silent. We will not be silenced. We will speak out for our brothers, our sisters, our family, our community, and our friends. Welcome back to Resurrect the Republic, RTR Truth Radio broadcast. I'm your host, Lorri Anderson, and we are talking about smart meters, their health effects, and how the psychological mental health providers are failing to even look into these issues before they diagnose people as being schizophrenic. The World Health Organization has some facts, and they have a paper called Electromagnetic Fields, EMF, Electromagnetic Fields in Public Health, also known as electromagnetic hypersensitivity. This is part of the quote. As society's industrialized and technological revolution continues, there has been an unprecedented increase in the number and diversity of electromagnetic field sources. These sources include video display units associated with computers, mobile phones, and their base stations. While these devices have made our life richer, safer, and easier, they have been accompanied by concerns about possible health risks due to their EMF emissions. For some time, a number of individuals have reported a variety of health problems that they relate to the exposure to EMF. While some individuals report mild symptoms and react by avoiding the fields as best they can, others are so severely affected that they cease work and change their entire lifestyle. This reputed sensitivity to EMF has been generally termed electromagnetic hypersensitivity, or EHS. This fact sheet describes what is known about the condition and provides information for helping people with such symptoms. Information provided is based on a World Health Organization workshop on electrical hypersensitivity, Prague, Czech Republic, 2004, and an international conference on EMF and nonspecific health symptoms, a European Commission report, and recent reviews of the literature. EHS is characterized by a variety of nonspecific symptoms which afflicted individuals attribute to the exposure of EMF. The symptoms most commonly experienced include dermatological symptoms, redness, tingling, and burning sensations, as well as neurasthenic and vegetative symptoms, fatigue, tiredness, concentration difficulties, dizziness, nausea, heart palpitations, and digestive disturbances. The collection of symptoms is not part of any recognized syndrome. EHS resembles multiple chemical sensitivities, or MCS, another disorder associated with low-level environmental exposures to chemicals. Both EHS and MCS are characterized by a range of nonspecific symptoms that lack apparent toxicological or physiological basis or independent verification. A more general term for sensitivity to environmental factors is IEI, which originated from a workshop convened by the International Program on Chemical Safety of the World Health Organization in 1996 in Berlin. IEI is a descriptor without any implication of chemical etiology, immunosensitivity, or EMF susceptibility. IEI incorporates a number of disorders sharing similar nonspecific medically unexplained symptoms that adversely affect people. However, since the term EHS is in common usage, it will continue to be used here. I will, of course, leave links below our show for you to be able to access and look up this information yourself. On that note, when we come back from 10:30 break, we are going to be hearing from a gentleman out of Canada. He is the chairman of the Interior of Smart Meter Awareness. His name is Brian Thiessen, and he was speaking at the Vernon Schobert Center on April the 15th, 2012. And although he's Canadian, he exposes Canada and the U.S., their motives, and an in-depth look at health issues. So hang with us. We'll be right back after a couple of words from our sponsors, and we'll hear what he has to say about how detrimental smart meters are.
This is the most transparent administration in history.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Extendivite is more than just a heart tonic. Most basic diseases are caused by yeast in the gut and metals in the liver, and we all have a bit of both. The garlic in Extendivite has a yeast-killing effect in the gut while also helping the sulfur enzyme in the liver get rid of the metals. Extendivite just may improve your overall health. Products like Extendivite are the only way we are going to get our society healthy. And if you're waiting for the government and pharmaceutical care to solve your health problems, you're going to have a long, disappointing wait, I think. Extendivite is a complete formula for extended life in the new millennium. 80 can be the new 60. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. May 5th is the last day you will hear this offer on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus magful clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
Welcome back to Resurrect the Republic RTR Truth Media Broadcast. I'm your host for this evening, Lorri Anderson. We've been discussing smart meter technology, the side effects of the smart meters, and we have also been discussing the Tyler Whitman case, because a lot of the symptoms that Mr. Whitman had that he went to, quote-unquote, professionals for help were that of smart meters. With that being said, I have a clip for you, and I wanted to remind you, this individual is from Canada. However, I believe that it is imperative that you have the ability to hear what he has to say. He exposes not only the smart meters, he exposes Canada, he exposes the United States as well. He gives motives and he gives in-depth about the health issues of the smart meters. His name is Brian Thiessen. He was speaking at the Vernon Schobert Center on April the 15th, 2012. He is the chairman of the Interior of Smart Meter Awareness. And on that note, Mike, if you would, please play that clip.
A lot of talent in this part of British Columbia, and you've just witnessed one, and you're about to witness another very dynamic speaker with a very dynamic presentation. His name is Brian Thiessen. He is the chairman of the Interior Smart Meter Awareness.
Okay, thanks everyone for coming, obviously. Glad you guys decided to come and get educated on some things that you probably didn't know you were going to learn tonight. So, without further ado, the truth about smart meters. BC Hydro likes to talk about, we call the people up, and once they know the facts, these people change their minds or decide that they want a smart meter. But we're here tonight to present you with the actual facts. Health is, for most of us here, the number one topic. Without health, you don't have wealth, you don't have anything, you don't have a quality of life, all these good things. So this is why I want to start with health, and I'm going to lay it out to you just as Curtis was doing earlier. Your body is electrical. You have your own frequencies. Every function of your body, as Curtis said, runs on these frequencies. We're talking about basic laws of the universe, electromagnetism, and the foundation of life. It's really that simple. These are the foundations of why and how you can actually live and breathe and be in this room, think, watch me present, all that other stuff. So this is not for peer review. We don't need any more long-term studies to show if this is true or not. We don't need this agency or these guys to say whether or not this is fact. This is absolute fact. Again, the earth itself, everything in the universe and all of creation has its own magnetism, has own electrical fields, frequencies, properties. Even trees. They're showing even right on this voltmeter that you can get electricity out of trees. Trees have a particular electricity, all of them. You're not alive if you don't have this stuff. All the way down to bacteria, viruses, everything. They even found that the human cell has electric fields as powerful as lightning bolts. Very interesting stuff. Most people probably don't know that. I didn't know that until a little while ago. So since we are all in the universe, we obey these very basic laws. We have trillions of these connections in your human body. As I said, every time you blink, everything, these are all electrical triggers and functions that are happening every single second. They are not to be messed with. They're very precise. They need to be a specific way. And this is the problem with cell phones, cell towers, smart meters, these types of devices. All of these functions, every single thing that you do. Now, not only does BC Hydro and Health Canada deny this, your doctors, the top guys in Health Canada or Hydro, they deny this. They don't even think it exists. They don't even believe in this. And I'll explain to you how they've come to this conclusion. They've denied all of this in order to allow it to be that all of these devices are safe. So Curtis may have mentioned this. Your body operates at specific frequencies. You're all operating at a frequency of specific hertz, cycles per second right now. The gentleman in the front here, he had a little cell phone in his pocket. The cell phone went off, probably operating at about 2.4 billion hertz or somewhere in that range, changing every frequency and vibration of his heart and body. Every single second he has that on them. Any of you guys have a phone on you in this room? That's what's happening. We're not to be changing these things. It's not natural. Your human body, it's human antenna. All your cells are fractal antenna. They don't have a choice. So if you're driving by a cell phone tower or by a smart meter, you don't have a choice. Your cells receive that frequency. That's it. And they adapt to what they're being hit with. And in this case, these frequencies cause electrical failure. And electrical failure means disease. And it doesn't always happen right away or every second, but over time, when you keep trying to change someone's frequency to an unnatural state, you're going to have unease or dis-ease. So what do? We decide to buy cell phones. We decide to buy cordless phones and all these different things. And we see all these massive growth rates and all these technologies, and we wonder why, year after year, all of these diseases are getting more prevalent. There's more and more problems. Everyone's in the hospital. Our hospitals are full. We don't know what's going on. We have these cell phone towers. I know they're definitely in Vernon. They're everywhere. They're in Kamloops, all over the place. These little routers and collectors, they have a lot of capabilities. These things are like little miniature cell phone towers that are going to be right beside your houses, your schools, your daycares, all of these things. So if you have a cell phone and your cell phone works, you are being hit by one of these towers sending those microwaves directly to your brain. That's how it works. And this is the amount of cell phone towers we have in Canada right now. And in fact, this map, I believe, is a year or two old. You can't even imagine how fast these things go up and how much more and more of these towers are. Especially when you start talking about the 4G networks, and then they want to have a 5G and a 6G. So they always need more and more towers. And they say, oh, it's natural. It's just like the sun. This is all normal. This isn't nature. So this is what's going on. This is why everyone can drive around and their phone works, and they can drive around and be on their phone. So what do we do in our infinite wisdom? You saw all those frequencies that you're just supposed to be at these 8 or so hertz. Now we got these phones that are at 6 billion hertz. And we put those up to our heads. And this is how this works. Cordless phones, cell phones, all the same stuff. Microwaves going directly into your brain. That's how it works. That's a base station right here. This is where you guys hang up your phones at night. Definitely don't sleep with one of those by your bed. So this device here needs to get the voice to my head. Why? Because I've removed the cord. I've removed the cord. Now we require some type of fake cord or a microwave that carries that to there. But that doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop at the phone like a cord would where it puts the frequency directly into it. That microwave goes to the phone and into my brain, vibrating all of my brain cells in my entire body at massive amounts of frequencies that I'm not designed to do. So a lot of people have probably been using these phones and they don't even know this. They don't understand the technology and they don't know why. And that's fine, but now you know. Now you're responsible for that knowledge. So this is what's going on. Those things penetrate inside in the brain, or they attenuate, whatever the terminology you want to call it is. Bottom line is your brain cells and your ears are being vibrated. This is something else you guys want to look at. How many of you guys got metal fillings in your mouth? You ever thought of what might happen when you start microwaving mercury? The vapors going into your brain, the frequency changes, all the microwaves bouncing off going into your head and your brain. What about people, the least protected spot on your body is your eyes. A lot of people with glasses in the room I can see already, and you're putting those phones up to your head, accepting that microwave directly into your eyeballs. Also the hearing. Curtis talked about it. Tinnitus, buzzing, clicking, ringing, tingling in the ears. That's right in the military documents, which I'm about to show you guys. That's not going to go away. And it's not going to help you to continue to exposing your ears to those microwaves. So this is displaying how the microwaves attenuate into the brains, and then the people, especially the pregnant women or people that are soon to be pregnant, will walk around with a cell phone in their pocket or carry a cordless phone or the clip-on baby monitors, and the microwaves don't stop at the phone. Again, they penetrate through. That is the laws of microwaves and electricity, which I am representing at this time. This is also what we do. Now we're deciding that, actually I think in 2014 in the United States they're doing a whole bunch of stuff regarding this, but now we're putting microwave chips to monitor where our children grow. So now they're in the womb, they're being exposed. As soon as they get out of the womb, we want to expose them. And actually, before they're even at a point where the female is pregnant, they're going to be exposed while that female is inside the womb, because that female is going to carry her eggs forward that she has for life, and carrying around the laptops in school with the Wi-Fi. Baby monitors, same thing. Sending microwaves. This is how the microwaves work. Vibrating the cells of the little children at all times. We're changing the frequencies. We're changing DNA. This is what we do. Schools have already been removing Wi-Fi. That's what Ed was talking about, because they understand, they've looked at it. That's why all the insurance companies will not insure for this, because they know the damage that this stuff causes. And country after country is really starting to look at this and say, why are we inducing our children in classrooms when we can simply hardwire these computers? So it's not about going back to the Stone Age. It's actually just using safe technology. Thank you. So Hydra likes to say things like, oh, there's Wi-Fi in coffee shops, or there's Wi-Fi in this room, so everything's fine. Let's put a smart meter on every single house. Here we have Yale, a reputable university, talking about cell phone use in pregnancy may cause behavioral disorders in offspring. Are we surprised that all these kids are going to school now? They can't pay attention. They have to be on Ritalin. They can't concentrate. They have loss of memory. All these types of things. This is part of the problem as well. When Curtis is talking about Safety Code 6, that test is done for a 6'2" human, a military man, basically a soldier. That's not taking into consideration at any point in time children. Their skulls aren't as thick. They're not fully developed. Their immune system isn't fully developed about to the age of 18. They're using a massive man, and they're not understanding that these frequencies are penetrating. Test after test shows this stuff. Then we walk into our work environments as we grow up. We're starting to see how there could be a cumulative effect and problems here. Then we start putting these smart meters all over the place on every single house. Then we have gas meters. Then we have water meters and more smart meters, collectors, towers, cell phone towers. And then we start getting messes like this where we're microwave radiating entire cities. The amount of microwave radiation in this town is going to be extremely high. Never at any point in time in human evolution have we been exposed to this type of stuff. And we're starting to see the effects of these types of things as we move forward. Carcinogenesis, these types of problems. 1 kilogram, 1 degree, 6 minutes. That's the testing that's protecting you. As we might have talked about earlier, if this mannequin's head doesn't heat up to 1 degree, the soapy liquid inside of it, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. You're all safe. You can be exposed for the rest of your life to as many things as you want, as long as you don't heat up. That's what they're saying. So this comes back to the point where Hydro is denying these things. They deny your electrical properties. And why do they do that? So these guys in the telecom industry and all these guys can make lots of money unhindered by any laws or anything. And they're not even taking into consideration the towers that are penetrating the brain. And why I use this label here of 4G networks. Now with the 4G network, you have to be hit with 2 towers at all times in order for that stuff to work. So you can get your videos on your phone and people can watch YouTube on the bus and radiate everyone else on the bus. So the cell phone industry says we don't want to test these on humans, even though there's 5 billion people on the planet now with cell phone subscriptions. So they're already testing them on humans. We already have those massive cell phone towers all over the place testing them on humans. But they say it's because it wouldn't be ethical. But it is, of course, ethical to market cellular phones directly to babies. So we can get those kids hooked on phones as fast as possible. We can make the most amount of money for the entire lifespan of that consumer. Ethics again. We don't want to test on kids. We wouldn't test on babies. We wouldn't do that. We're the telecom industry. We're the microwave industry. We wouldn't do that, would we? 24/7, again, multi-source for life. So this is what they're leaving out of the equation, and they're doing it on purpose so they can proliferate this technology and make a lot of money. All they've done the testing for is the short term and for the thermal level. That's it. They've left out the long-term cumulative exposures. And they'll always say, well, there needs to be more long-term exposure studies done. You saw those chicken embryos and eggs. That's what happens. What you have, your only gift, your only saving grace is the fact that your immune system tries to compensate for this stuff, and it can be in a state that it's trying to heal you. But over time, when you continually microwave radiate your brain, your immune system has troubles. Your immune system has difficulties, and all types of diseases and disorders can happen. Here's the Naval Medical Research Institute. This is the data that they are giving to us, and this is the data that I'm presenting for you right now. Why do I like military documents? I like military documents because the military doesn't mess around. They are very binary. Yes or no. Zeros and ones. Does this hurt our guys? Can we hurt their guys? How do we protect our guys? How can we allow it so they can't protect their guys? So they did a compilation of 2,300 studies. And these are some of the things that they showed and found. Impotence. Everybody knows what are the top selling drugs out there. Guys are carrying the cell phones around in their pockets. According to the military documents, these are the things they're showing. Also, lack of concentration, loss of memory. This is the military finding this early in the 70s, mid-70s. Then what happens is the Yale studies come out and confirm this. And study after study confirms the exact same thing. That's what science is called. That's what science is. When you have repeatable results over time with multiple sets of subjects in different areas and different studies, you get the same results. That's what happens. Here we have endocrine gland functions, altered pituitary function, hyperthyroidism, thyroid enlargement. A lot of women sometimes they have problem weight loss, weight gain. What's happening? You got that phone up to your head and your thyroid's all right in here. You're microwaving your whole brain, your pineal gland, your pituitary gland, all your glands right in here. You're changing the frequencies. The body's trying to compensate. It can't do it forever. And we're not talking about giant microwave weapon beams. We're talking everything on the spectrum. These are the things that they were finding. Central nervous system effects, headaches, insomnia, restlessness, all these types of cranial nerve disorders, disease after disease, and it changes per subject. And why does that happen? Because all of you have different frequencies, different ages, everything. So when you put that up to people, they're going to have all different types of susceptibilities, and these are the things they were finding. Changes in the operation of implanted cardiac pacemakers, an electrical device right inside. Now Hydro is going to force those things. In the specs of those devices, they are told not to be around cell phones. They're told not to be around cordless phones. And now Hydro is going to force those devices onto their homes. What else do we have? Changes in physiological function. Altered menstrual activity. Altered fetal development. Hopefully, I'm able to try and substantiate, according to the military documents that I was talking about earlier, and all the stuff. When you microwave radiate a fetus before it is even born, Yale, all these guys are finding the exact same things every single time. Decreased lactation in nursing mothers. Changing the frequencies and the operation of the body. This is what happens. Here we have more studies from the Army. This is the Department of the Army. I'm sure they have a lot of reputable scientists who want to know the exact facts and do the work to find them. Radio frequency radio waves. 100% of the population would be susceptible. Why would 100% of the population be susceptible? Because everybody is electrical. Everybody has frequencies. You start changing those frequencies, you have a susceptibility to disease and problems. All these other things, muscle spasms, all the way up to loss of consciousness. Every time they find the same results. Here's the Environmental Protection Agency. 574 pages and 3,627 studies. Already we're over 5,000 studies and documents. What does this do? 0 to 100 gigahertz. Everything along the lines of any type of microwaves you can have. Page after page after page after page of documents and studies just like this. This is just one page out of the studies of effects on the central nervous system. This is what the EPA wanted to present in 1992 in order for people to know, hey, this should be a class 2A carcinogen. This gives people cancer. And they said, no, we don't want to. The government started saying, no, we don't want to enter that stuff in. And they started fast-tracking laws for the FCC to be able to install these towers because they knew this is the effects. And now they tried to eliminate the right of choice of all the people, a right of choice to their health. Here's Korean War veterans. More and more documents, more and more studies showing the exact same things. We have the higher rates of exposure, more rates of death. Why? The more microwaves, the more death. This is the stuff that happens. We've shown this over time. They've known about this since the 1930s when they first started using the microwaves to make tables and all different kinds of stuff for heat. And what started happening, part of the determination of the 1,000 microwatts per square centimeter came from when they switched from propeller to jet engines, they needed more powerful radars. And they had our guys sitting by the radars watching this stuff. But these guys were starting to get sick and dying, as we can clearly see here. So what did they say? Well, we need to absolve ourselves from liability because we need to have these guys wear these radars. So they just upped the levels of exposure that they thought were safe. And they've left it there. That's where this all happened. Here we have permanent genetic mutation and DNA damage. Time after time, the exact same thing being shown from lower levels of microwave. Not at levels that heat you up 1 degree per kilogram after 6 minutes, at the lower levels. Levels of cell phones. 24 hours of mobile phone exposure. That's genetic damage. That's DNA damage. Study after study is showing this. So Hydro likes to give you some nonsense about these meters going off 3 or 4 times a day.
There's a background level. That's what it should be. It's over 2,000.
So I think you guys get the point of that. Okay. I will explain that. I want to show you some more videos just so that we understand that this just isn't a one-off. I'm sure there's a few people here that are going to be living around meter boxes, meter banks. This is the routers, constantly, all day, every single day, sending the microwaves. I'm going to explain what this meter is measuring.
It's getting a little bit higher, too.
So, this is from the Canadian Human Rights Commission. This is the data I'm representing while being on stage right now. Childhood leukemia near transmitters, impaired motor function, reaction time, memory, and attention of school children. The same stuff over and over. Why do we keep seeing the same thing? Why do we keep seeing the same results? Now that device was conking out right around 2. Could have been going up to 5, somewhere in that range. I can't be 100% sure because I wasn't there. However, I will tell you that even at the 2 range, microwave hearing, clicking, buzzing, chirping, hissing are high-pitched threshold notes. These things like tinnitus, people exposing directly to their ears microwaves vibrating every cell, atom, and molecule inside their brain. Headache, dizziness, irritability, fatigue, weakness, insomnia, chest pain, difficulty breathing. A lot of people, you don't even know what's happening if you're exposing these things to yourself. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that no one's ever had any of these problems ever before microwaves. That's not what this is about. But if we were told to avoid them, we probably wouldn't have had all this microwave technology. Most of us probably wouldn't be using cordless phones and all these other things.
And on that note, we'll be right back after a couple of words from our sponsors, and we'll continue to listen to Mr. Brian Thiessen. Hang with us.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EO Tech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
It's my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stared by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I
RTR Truth Media Reloaded. I am your host today, Lorri Anderson, and we've been discussing smart meters, their health effects, and the possibility that you may have those symptoms. And those symptoms, if you go for help, the individuals may not take you seriously and just automatically label you as schizophrenic. So I want to get back to the clip with Brian Thiessen. He's chairman of the Interior of Smart Meter Awareness out of Canada. And he was speaking at the Vernon Schobert Center on April 15, 2012. And although he is Canadian, he does expose Canada, the United States, motives, and an in-depth look at the health issues from these smart meters. I believe his voice needs to be heard, and I believe we can learn a lot from what he is teaching. If you would, Mike, go ahead and continue playing that clip.
Again, the Canadian Human Rights Commission finding this out in 2007 after looking at piles and piles of documents. So this is what was left out. Millions per day left out. Meter to meter exposure. So they're going to say 3 to 4 times a day. Or they're going to say, well, being around 1 meter for 20 years, it's like a cell phone call. So don't even worry about it. There's no big deal. They're leaving out every meter communicating with all the other meters all day long for no reason. They just communicate. I'll explain to you why, but we don't understand why they would have to communicate with each other. So anyone in this area is going to be attenuating those frequencies. That frequency from meter 1 is going to go into meter 2, and it's going to run through your wiring, going to run through your body, changing your frequencies with every pulse. Now, those single meters pulsing like that, how many people are exposed to this type of stuff? On the other side of the wall of these meters. Or being in a building with an electromagnetic field being generated by something like that. Or people sometimes, I know in buildings, they'll walk by in the lobbies or they come down the elevator shaft and that room is right on the other side. So nobody has a choice. And those things are supposed to communicate with your smart appliances all the way up on the top tower or whatever it is. So PG&E was forced to disclose in court that their meters, when they said, they'd only go off a few times a day, 14,000 to 190,000 pulses per day. Per day. And these were the signals bouncing from the home. So what Hydro likes to tell us is, we're only sending the data to the routers 3-4 times a day. But they never mention the communication between meter to meter. They never talk about the frequencies they're going at. They just leave all that stuff out of the equation, so they leave the public in the dark about everything. So this is what happens. This is probably pretty typical. I've been around actually in Kamloops. I found a few more of the routers now. So the people that are going to be closer to these routers, and you're not going to be told, they'll just one day, if they decide to, they'll just put up a router. You live right here, they'll put a router up right there. And there's nothing you can do about it according to them. So maybe a house further in the periphery of this entire system is going to send signals around. But once it starts, they all start to flow through to the house near the end, and it sends it to the collector, which sends it back to the cell tower, and so on and so on. So instead of leaving this stuff in the wires where it belongs or having our meter readers going around and checking these meters for how much electricity they're using, we decided to microwave radiate the entire population constantly all day. So Hydro tells us not to worry about this because this is approved by this particular gentleman here, Mr. John Blatherwick. So one guy has said this is safe. So when they go to your city councils or chiefs and councils, they say, don't worry, John Blatherwick said it's okay.
You're assuming that there's a huge increase. There won't be. And I think we'll be able to show that. Hydro is adding up all these microsecond bursts of energy, which are only fractions of seconds. And they add them all up together, and it comes to 2 or 3 minutes a day. And they say, on average, we're only transmitting 2 or 3 minutes a day. When in fact, they are transmitting every couple of minutes at a fairly powerful burst of energy. And do you know anything different about that? No. The answer is I can't debate that with you because I do not know. I do not know the specifics. So the answer is I can't debate that with you.
Okay, so as it stands right now, because I have tested it. He doesn't know the specifics. So you're safe because he approved it. He has no idea what's going on, but he's the guy that BC Hydro puts in their pamphlets that says, don't worry, John Blatherwick approved this stuff. You should feel safe. We'll get to that after. They also say BC's provincial health officer has said this is safe. So they use two guys' opinions, and they say, don't worry, these guys said it's fine. Here he is in this article. Clearly some biological effects. There's clearly effects, but who cares? We'll put them on the house anyway. These are the guys that approved your meters. Remember John Blatherwick? Remember our military documents? Here's what John Blatherwick says. If you truly are harmed by this level of radiation, you can't live in a major city. And what did our military documents say? 100% of the population would be susceptible. This is not my opinion. This is electricity speaking. This is incompatibility with the human body of microwaves, with your electrical fields, with your frequencies. Here we have more 8,000 research articles on animals. Suppression of the immune system. Remember I talked about that. It's the same with animals. Why? Because animals are electrical. They have their own unique frequencies. They are not to be microwaved. You saw the results of those microwave radiation of those chick eggs. You're not supposed to be that. You only, again, have the advantage of your immune system being on your side for as long as it wants to keep you repaired. So we see this over and over again. Bees, same thing. They're not designed to withstand the frequencies. They've never been exposed to that. We see all our bees dying. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that's exactly and only the cause, but why would we microwave radiate them? Why would we change their navigation mechanisms? We're compromising their immune systems. Now they get the varroa mites or they don't return to the hive. And we wonder, why is this happening? And these things are so healthy, in fact, that in California they're already removing them because of the health effects. Yes. Soon enough, it will be BC. BC Hydro also likes to come out and talk to your city councils. Radio is safe. Why was the Vatican found liable for giving people higher rate of cancer in the vicinity of their radio towers? Why did the courts find that? That was just recent, again. So when you actually start to do the research and you look into this and you understand a very basic equation, you come to the same thing that these tens or thousands and thousands of studies come to. You can't change people's frequencies. You can't microwave radiate people without having problems. So after this, they say after decades of research, there are no demonstrable health or environmental effects from exposure to low-level radio frequencies signals. Again, all they are taking into effect, did the person heat up? No, they didn't. Nothing happens. Don't worry about it. So every time you put that cell phone up to your head or your cordless phone in your homes, this is the stuff that's happening. Finally, are we still trusting Health Canada? Lead, DDT, pesticides, asbestos, dozens of prescription drugs, tobacco, chlordane, trans fats, mercury fillings. I may not be as qualified as some people would like me to be, but I sure could probably guess that putting one of the most toxic substances known to man in your mouth probably wouldn't be a good idea. I would probably venture to guess that direct inhalation of smoke into your lungs for long periods of time is probably not going to be a good idea. And yet we still trust these people. Pesticides. Things that break down the nervous system of biological entities and end up in your food supply and water into your body have no effect on you. This is Health Canada. Changing all the frequencies of the entire population and denying that they're doing it. Again, I put this slide in here because I wanted to make sure I mentioned this. This is about cumulative exposure. I'm not going to sit up here and say that if you use a cell phone once, you're going to die tomorrow. I'm going to tell you that you keep exposing yourself to this type of stuff, you have problems. And when people don't give you a choice, that's where the problems come in. When we don't even let our little children have a choice with this stuff, this is where the problems come in. You mean to tell me the same guys that messed it all up with tobacco and all those other things are going to tell me this is fine for my son, your kids, your future babies, grandkids, yourselves? Gas smart meters, water smart meters, hydro smart meters, routers, cordless phones, smart appliances, the routers, cell phone towers. You're actually going to tell me that this is safe to microwave radiate yourselves? No, I don't believe this to be true. What are our alternatives? A gentleman in the front row over here said, we need to go back to the Stone Age. No, we just put the stuff back on the wires where it belongs. Very simple.
Amen to that.
Anybody remember like 1990 when everything was fine? We could all talk on our phones. Everything worked. Society functioned pretty well. Is that the Stone Age? Rotary phone, yes. Okay, so this is all we have to do. Once you remove that wire from the equation, and I'm not excited about having to use a wireless mic, I'm using it because I have to, you have to have microwaves. You must have microwaves, and that is where the frequency conflict comes into the equation. Smart meters, following the money. The telecom industry, following the money. The politicians, following the money. Let's do that right now. Here it is, black and white. Here's your members of the BC Liberal Party or current Reform members, or very, very, very close relationships and ties, either with past jobs or donations or things thereof. These guys are all on the board of Hydro, members of the Liberal Party or something like that. And guess what else they're on the board of our papers, so we never get a straight answer out of our Vancouver Suns and the province and all these guys. You hear they take some person complain about it and you get Hydro with 4 paragraphs explaining how much they're safe. These guys, and these are the same Vancouver Sun and all these guys pulling in $13, $14, $15 million of your taxpayer advertising dollars in order to sell this program for BC Hydro. And the same papers that make millions and millions advertising for telecoms industries. But we have another part of this equation. We also know that the primary shareholders of a company of Corex are also people that are on the board at Hydro, are also in the Liberal Party. What is this about? Is this BC Hydro or Corex Hydro? When did I decide that BC Hydro and Corex were all buddies and partners and all going to be having this nice relationship and funneling money back and forth to each other? Do you guys want to know what Hydro actually is? Hydro is just a big liability. That's all it is. Anything that's a liability is BC Hydro. Anything that's a profit is an independent power producer or a subcontracted entity. So what happens here? If you guys have cell phones on, please shut them off. That'd be really appreciative. What happens here is we send all of the liabilities to us. So we pay for the smart meters, the transmission lines, the cables, the routers and everything, and all the profits go to independent power producers and these private companies. This is about mandatory meters. Why do they want mandatory meters, no choice and all this stuff? So they can sell mandatory smart appliances. They can make all of you retrofit your entire homes with smart appliances. More and more money for these guys. So if you have a blown appliance, that's fine with them. Go out and buy a smart appliance. Thank you very much. And what is this industry? They're looking to realize a 500% increase in profits in 4 years. Now all those other guys, you'll know that they have all buddies at GE and all these other things, all these same guys that make the smart appliances, the routers, the cables, Cisco Systems, IBM, they're all shareholders. Here is the big deal. Now this is not my opinion. This is coming straight out of the Smart Grid guys, the Smart Grid News, the guys who look into this stuff. The bottom line, they say, We're going to need a lot of sensors and monitors, and somebody is going to make billions selling them. Where are those billions going to come from? These lawmakers pass the laws to force the money out of your pocket directly into their hands. And of course, it's got to be safe, right? Otherwise, the money wouldn't go to them. Here's another one. You can see the most profitable industries, Itron, IBM, Cisco, network and other communications equipment. I wonder why, because when they get the governments to subsidize their profits, that's a pretty easy thing to make a big pile of money. And here you can see already, these are the routers you're going to see, the collector stations. What do we see right here? Itron, BC Hydro, TELUS. All buddies, all together with each other, all funneling money back and forth in and out of your pockets into their pockets. Here we go. Our former public safety minister, you know, the guy that should be protecting us, well, now he works for TELUS. Isn't that very interesting? You know, TELUS, the guys that are running this grid and doing all this stuff. The former industry minister, another person that should be sitting around saying, should we really be putting 900 million hertz into a 60 hertz grid? He doesn't care. He works for Bell now. How about independent testing? Hydro says, don't worry, we had some independent testing done. We're going to tell your city councils, we're going to tell your chief and councils, it's all independent and we did it and you can live and die by this data. This was done by a company called PlanetWorks Consulting. The person who was doing the test was a man by the name of Carl Reardon. Carl Reardon is a former director and general manager of Motorola. He's collecting paychecks from consultation on cell tower installations. So surely he wouldn't find any problem with the smart meters, because that would be a direct contradiction to his paycheck. Holder of 7 U.S. and EU patents on wireless data and technology. Well, certainly he won't want to get in the way of his money, would he? Chief Technology Officer of Wireless Image. So we can see, is this very independent? I don't really think so. And these are the people at Hydro saying, trust Carl Reardon. He's going to tell you the truth. This is the same guy that went around and did the Wi-Fi testing in the schools on a CTV program and told everyone this was all safe. Don't worry, microwave radiate your kids for 1,200 hours a year, for 10, 15 years, whatever it is. They're fine. I'm Carl Reardon. I'm going to let you know. No risk. PlanetWorks Consulting. Again, independent engineering study. You're safe. Health Canada researchers, they're also getting paid by Motorola. They have publications that are paid for by Motorola. All these guys, you can see a giant web of deceit to make you guys believe this stuff is safe. You can't microwave radiate your brain all day long. This is the same Health Canada. We're trusting these guys still. I can't get over this stuff. Any one of these is an issue. Any one of these as an oversight, a mistake, we didn't see it, is a problem. You start piling these up and more. Conservation and savings. This is the big thing. First of all, I know most of the people in the room have heard about the bills going through the roof. This is not about conservation, and you're going to find out why. We're powering the world at our expense now. BC Hydro, which is really independent power producers, they piggyback off our grid to sell the power they produce in our province, and by the way, most of the time they get us to pay for the facilities, and they have a free ride all the way. They don't even have to sell the power in Canada. They can sell it down to California. So who do you think has the cheapest rates in North America? Us. Who do you think has the most expensive rates in North America? California. So they're going to keep selling the power down to California from now on. And until we start matching California's bids, they're not even going to look at us. So they can do run of rivers, destroy our province, frack, natural gas, LNG, all that stuff to generate electricity. They don't even have to sell it to us. That's another part of the equation that's a little bit of a mess. So they're going to spend billions of dollars just in BC alone, and we're not even allowed to know how they're spending that money. The public has been blocked from knowing it. Why? Because if we knew where the money was going, we'd probably find out it's all going to all their buddies' pockets. So that's what's happening. So now you're not even allowed to know where your tax dollars are being spent. And they're doing this all over Canada. Billions and billions of dollars. It's in the hundreds of billions of dollars that they're doing all these projects. And guess what? At the end of them, guess what happens? They go right to the independent power producers, and they get to do whatever they want with it. So this is the BC Energy Plan. This is how our government decided we're going to move forward with BC and the jobs and all the nonsense they talk about. They give away the public rivers for free and get them to finance the facilities and commit to purchase the power from that at exorbitant rates. And at the end of that process, the private company owns the river rights, the infrastructure, and they can sell their power to whomever they want for whatever they want forever. Did you know that they have big heritage contracts out? And now there's going to be different sets of rates. So all these giant mining companies and all these other guys, what they do, the independent power producer sells the power to BC Hydro. BC Hydro will pay them 11 cents a kilowatt hour or something like this. And guess what BC Hydro does? They sell it to the mining companies for 3 cents. And you get to pay that difference. Now in Kamloops, they're putting up one mine over in Kamloops called Ajax Mine. Ajax Mine itself isn't even a huge mine. That mine alone will use more power than all the citizens in Kamloops combined. You get to pay that cost differential. And you think the rates aren't going to go up? So now what does BC Hydro become? A liability, a clearinghouse for theft for these guys. So here we go. Look at all these projects that are going on. All these independent power producers, all these run-of-river projects, destroying our rivers, spawning habitats, all these other things. All these things are happening, and you're paying for them. And none of these guys have to sell the power back to you. They can just ship it down to California for a higher price. Another way your rates are going to go through the roof. And also, BC Hydro is already in billions of dollars of debt. They have 28 different deferral accounts. So now they're billions of dollars in debt, and they're going to decide to spend billions of dollars on smart meters that we don't even need. And they're, of course, paying themselves their bonus for profits that they didn't even make because they just deferred the debt till later on when they want to bankrupt Hydro and take over all their assets. And that is what they're going to do if we don't stop them. So they are talking about, well, I think if you don't want to have a meter, you should have to pay an extra fee because you wanted to opt out. That is a very interesting concept. So I would have to pay an extra fee because I want to have a $50 analog meter versus a $500 smart meter. I need to pay an opt-out fee because I want a device that lasts 40 to 50 years versus 5 years. Requires no extra infrastructure, doesn't require data storage, doesn't require extra electricity. And you're going to tell me I need to pay more. These meters, we're going to have a constant cash cow for Corix and all these meter makers. You think about, you guys got computers, cordless phones, how long do those things last? They don't last 40, 30, 40, 50 years. How many people have ever had a cell phone that lasts more than 2 or 3 or 4 years? Because the device itself is microwaving itself. So all the mechanisms inside it are breaking it down. They have no choice. So that's the same thing that's going to happen with a smart meter. It starts to wear down and you get to buy them all back at $500 a pop. Who's going to pay for that? They've been doing pilot projects. Not much effect on energy consumption. Oh, of course not. Here's another one. This is from the Attorney General of Connecticut. Results showed no beneficial impact on total energy usage. Of course it didn't. Why? Why would these guys who are independent power producers want to allow at any time a device on your house that would cut into their ability to make a profit? Of course they wouldn't do that. It doesn't make business sense at all. So now we start getting down to the math and the money. So this is not about saving. This is about profiting. They would never put a device on your house that will require you to use less electricity. We could already see that in the billing that's happening now. Ratepayers will see rates jump 100, 300%. This is the same slide I've had since I started doing this about a year ago. Because we knew this was going to happen. Why? Because it happens everywhere else. This is the nature of the smart meter. You start playing these little electrical equations that don't make sense. You ram in these meters. You get faulty consumption rates, consumption patterns. And what about the people who don't even know the rates went up 5% and they didn't even use it, or 10%? Instead of $200, they're getting charged $220. And they say, oh, well, maybe that looks appropriate. Who makes the money? The independent power producers. Who's the one who pays for those meters to communicate with each other? You do. And what do you think happens when that meter communicates with that other meter? That electricity, that signal goes into your house. Who pays for all the routers and everything else? You do. And this money goes straight into the independent power producers' pockets. Rising prices, rising private profits. This is a money game. And there's a lot of money involved here. They say the reason for some of the building, it was an unusually cold winter. Well, that's just another straight up lie, because according to the facts, the warmer winter, it was warmer by about 2.7 degrees this year. Or they'll say, you were cooking in the holidays. Well, I didn't know if I turned on my stove, my bill would go up 300%. I didn't know that's how it worked. Or if I have a hot tub and you put in a smart meter, now my bill needs to go up 500%. And don't kid yourself, this is exactly what's been happening. So they're saying, it's going to make the meters more accurate. BC Hydro tells us their analog meters are 99% accurate. Why are we spending billions of dollars? Why are we spending billions of dollars for 1% of accuracy? It's not for accuracy, it's so these guys can make money. 98.6 of analog meters measure within 2% of the registered energy usage. That's so interesting. Why are we changing these meters? They last for 30, 40 years for a 5-year meter at 1,000% higher cost. Privacy, big issue. Okay, this is all about selling your private data. That's all this is. This is another phase of the game. They want to collect all your data, all your emails, your Facebooks, your text messages, Twitter, whatever it is you people are into, your phone conversations. They want to sell all this stuff. This is what the smart grid is designed for. More of your data in the cloud. I'm going to explain the cloud and how the cloud works, and you're going to understand this entire system. This is all about this utility data. And they're going to pull this data out of your house, and they're going to sell it to people, and they're not even going to give you a cent. This is where they're going to be doing this stuff. They have data storage facilities. I've heard that they're going to be building one in Vernon because of the fault lines and all these other different things. This is one or two facilities. The amount of electricity required for the data storage is astronomical, and there's no reason to store this data, but you get to pay for it, of course. Here we go. Remember this here. World-leading Kamloops Data Center. New facility, cornerstone of cloud computing solutions for TELUS. Remember our buddies TELUS? The customers include BC Hydro. Interesting. So now you get to pay for TELUS, a private company, out of your pocket to store your data, and TELUS can sell it to whoever they want and not give you a cent for doing it. So this is the type of stuff that they're going to be doing. What else is in this for the utilities? You can't read this at the bottom. Additionally, utilities would be able to monetize the value of the data. So now, again, here, this is not my opinion. This is straight out of the industry sources. Who would want to own and sell your data? Your buddies at Corex, TELUS, all these guys selling your data. And how are they going to be able to do that? Don't worry about it. Your politicians changed the privacy laws. Behind your back, Freedom of Information Act, all these things. So now your data is for sale, so their companies can make a mint. Here's another situation. We're talking about privacy. Paranoid. Are we paranoid or educated on the topic? Can they actually spy on us in our own homes? What is the chief of the CIA saying? Again, removing opinion. We'll spy on you through your dishwasher. Items of interest will be located, identified, monitored, and remotely controlled to cloud computing. What is an item of interest? You. Here's how they want to do this. They have a central location. Look at this. Already deciding how they're going to be able to control your heart. Could you imagine something like that going on this planet? Items of interest. Using the cloud for monitoring. When you send the microwaves throughout the entire household, you've turned the house into a cloud. You've turned the house into a system that anything electronic can be monitored inside of it. You have your own electrical frequency. Anytime you get upset, your breathing patterns, anything you want can be monitored. That's why you guys all have chips in your credit cards and bank cards now. You're walking down the street, you can be found any second by that chip, by the electricity of it. Popular science, removing opinion, removing qualification. I'm sure the guys at Popular Science may know a thing or two about what they're talking about.
All right, everyone, we'll be right back after a couple of words from our sponsors. Hang with us as we get to the closing of this phenomenal information.
Everything you earn by breaking your backs, we're gonna redistribute when we make our pay tax. Hey, sit it down, don't be a jerk.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Home
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting Truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
It's our time to take a stand. Remember who we are. Remember who we are. There's a call across this land. Remember who we are. Remember who we are. We were a city on a hill, a candle in the dark. It started long ago. Now we have come so far. We keep our faith, and there's no way out. Where there's little hope, we show no doubt. We go the distance, no matter how far. Remember who we are.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Resurrect Republic RTR Truth Media Reloaded. I am your host, Lorri Anderson, and we have been discussing this evening the health effects of smart meters. And one of the important things is that the side effects of these smart meters, sometimes when you go to get help from doctors, they don't even consider that. They could simply just think you're crazy and label you as schizophrenic and have you locked up because you're a harm to yourself or others, because they don't see anything wrong with you other than your mind. When in reality, if they did their research, they might find that there's actually a real problem going on. This is one of the reasons I also speak out against a lot of people, whether they're on the Republican side or the Democrat side. It doesn't matter what side they are. A lot of people are hollering mental health professionals, mental exams. We need stronger mental health. You have to remember, when people get those mental health evaluations, it is due and based on an opinion of one person. Everybody has different opinions. So what happens if you become a victim of an individual who has their own opinion or lacks the fortitude to take time with you and just simply labels you schizophrenic, and you're unable to take care of yourself and has it court ordered for you to be locked up against your will in a home and force medicated with medication that absolutely has been proven with death, diabetes, heart palpitations, all sorts of horrendous side effects. So we're going to get back to the clip, and after that, hopefully we'll have time for a couple of callers to see what your thoughts are. If you would, Mike, go ahead and play that clip.
Seeing through walls with a wireless router. That's what I was talking about, the cloud. Now they can look right inside your house. Look at this little police officer with this little gadget. He can spy directly into your house. I want you to know something. Why is this arrow here? Why do we have this router here? They can create, those microwaves generate a picture of what's happening inside your home. Just like a radar, when the plane flies by and it shows a little bip, only think way more and exponentially advanced. They've had a lot of time and years and billions of your dollars to spend on figuring this stuff out. Each breath you take can be monitored. This is them talking. It's possible to detect a person's breath rate by surrounding him with radio waves. Look at this picture. Does this picture remind you of anything? This is their data, not mine. This is their picture they generated through their studies. Remind you of anything? Your entire house is going to be retrofitted with radio waves, with all these appliances, blasting radio frequency signals off you. Now you understand why the meters have to go off 190,000 times a day, because they need to generate that picture. They can see inside every single household every single second they want to, with all these signals. I walk through a microwave field, they can find me. My house will generate a picture. That's how the cloud works. And then when you extrapolate that out, you surround the entire town with the frequencies. There's not even one single hole in the grid. Now, how do you do that? You put a wireless router on every single house. You don't even have a choice now to have internet or not internet. What is that wireless router? Smart meter. Now you have paid for TELUS to be able to roll out wireless internet on every single home in BC. And they have zero cost or expense. And they piggyback everything through all the grid that BC Hydro made. Is everyone understanding this is an absolute lie and scam? Yes, I am very sure. I am exactly sure.
Why would they want to do that?
When you pull your orange juice out of the fridge.
So you control my
So when let's take an example of how this can work. I pulled my orange juice out of the fridge. You guys seen those little squares that they have on all the things now with it looks like a UPC code? You ever seen those? It reads that. It's going to know exactly what's in there. Then they can sell that data to Tropicana or the other orange juice producer. Do you want to be able to have the right to speak through that guy's fridge to tell him there's a sale on at Save On, Safeway, or someone else? And they pay for that also. There's that. You may not be a person that they would want to do anything to, but they could, and they can find out. And it's not necessarily about controlling breathing or doing all these things. It's a possibility. It's something they can do. That's not necessarily to say that they're going to do that to every single person. That is a capability of the technology. They can generate a picture of every person's house every single second, because that's how the cloud works. Again, think about a plane flying through the sky. It shows a picture on the radar screen. Fast forward about 80 years, and this is what you have. This is popular science talk, and this is all the grid data. This is all their data talking. This is not my opinion. Security, we're going to talk about hacking. The Pentagon, CIA, NATO, all these guys, military drones, security firms that deal specifically with hacking, they can get hacked. They get hacked all the time. You open up your computer, you do a search for hacking. Who was hacked today? You will find something. It happens constantly. Stratfor, trading companies, algorithms for banks, all these things, they're hacked. A bunch of kids at a Texas college are hacking into drone systems. And BC Hydro wants to tell me that this little meter on the side of my house is protected from hacking. My data that they're sending out into the middle of the air, that anyone with a little computer can pull out and read, can know exactly all the stuff that those guys are measuring. Security pros, again, these are the people who deal with the cyber security experts. I'm not going to claim to be a cyber security expert, but when the experts speak, I tend to listen. Hacking into the smart grid. So BC Hydro says, we have the white hat hackers. They come and they haven't been able to hack the grid. Why has everyone else besides the guy Hydro's been hiring been able to hack their grids? Hack smart grids constantly, repeatedly, over and over. This stuff doesn't last. So now, moving forward, you're going to have to pay for all the security, the protection of your own information, and people are going to make a pile of money. Microsoft, Cisco, all these systems designers. So we have a constant threat of a problem. This is going to reduce theft, $100 million a year, saving money for ratepayers, for all of the dope growers. They're going to stop the dope growers with the smart meters. Very interesting stuff. This is how this works. They can already fake the readings. These guys have already found ways to fake the hydro readings. They don't even have to play with the wires of electricity. They'll just fake the readings. If you, absolutely no power consumption at all. Again, these are from all these guys, the industry guys. These are the guys that are talking about this stuff. If you want to stop the marijuana grow-up industry, thermal imaging. Fly over a town any night of the week, any night of the year, and you'll see a thermal imprint of it. That house, 401 5th Street, they got to grow up. Those lights, they admit that. They can stop that, but why would they really want to do that? Because the IPPs wouldn't make a big pile of money charging for all that electricity, now would they? For all the people who legitimately hook up to it. That's not what they want to do, and this will not stop theft. Organized crime is always ahead. I don't support them, I don't care about them, but don't expect to be stopping these guys. Hackers rewrite the smart meter power bill. Again, this is a different company talking about a different situation. Alter energy consumption rates altogether. They could figure out what movies customers were watching in their own homes. They can find out whether the DVD you're watching in your DVD player has been burned or bought from the store, pirated or not. Oh, what does the FBI say? This is the FBI. So we start talking about reputations. FBI, CIA, these guys are talking about smart grid electric meters altered to steal electricity. That's the FBI. Accountability, that's what Hydro talks about. Hacks are likely to spread. The FBI is telling Hydro, and then the Hydros turn around and tell the FBI, we got it under control, don't worry about it. BC Hydro's already had its own security breaches. This was June 18th. Of this year, and they're going to tell us about hacking. Again, talking about the marijuana industry, $7.5 billion a year, the second largest industry in BC. They could stop it if they wanted to. You're not going to shut them down with smart meters or a smart grid. That's not how it works. Home safety liability from fires.
We're concerned about house fires. Is there that are caused by the smart meters? Is that a possibility?
There's absolutely no incidents of house fires being caused by a meter. Let me tell you how this meter works. First of all, this is a measurement device. It doesn't carry a charge. Basically what happens is the power comes in through the top, it gets measured, and it comes out through the bottom. There's absolutely no way that these two connectors can come in contact with each other.
There's no way that this can, she says it's a measurement device. While that is true, do you know that's the only device on your home that's, first of all, not CSA approved, UL approved, and second of all, It's the only device on your home that allows for 928 million hertz to go directly into your 60 hertz grid. All the stuff Curtis was showing earlier, trying to tell us that these things do not cause fires. And living on the fact that the two prongs, they don't touch each other, so what's there to worry about? Here we are. We're having these fires all over BC. These are just some of the ones that have actually been reported and actually got into the paper. Fire after fire. Another one in Nanaimo. Here's Coquitlam. Sparwood, BC. The post office. Alberni. Another fire. Swapo. What were we talking about? 18-year-old kids running around with no idea what they're doing, getting paid commission to go as fast as possible, pulling out these meters. Another fire in Alberni. That is a different fire. If you can actually exactly notice this. This is different from the other one. So 2 in Alberni already. Mission, BC. How unfortunate for this person. BC Hydro is telling her it's her fault because there might have been a problem with the meter base. So it was up to her to know the exact moment in time when the Corex installer was going to come out and pull out the meter. Then she exactly, like everyone else in BC, needed to be a qualified electrician in order to be able to look at that and say, I don't think it's safe for you to put in that meter. And if she wasn't home at that exact time, which almost none of you are going to be, and if she's not a qualified electrician to know any difference between what's going on, whether this is a safe or not meter base, she's going to be in a lot of trouble. And trouble she is in because her house burned down one day after the installation. It's her fault. That is her fault, BC Hydro says, because her meter, her base station, they got electricians way down the road, if they even do have that. Now, what do we have? We have a very dangerous situation. I'll explain later. Unusual number of fires from smart meters linked in Ontario. Pickering, Ontario. Now we start getting into the United States. We start getting to California. Nope, definitely not the smart meter there. More and more smart meter fires. More in California. Naples, Florida. I'm not sure where this one was again. Victoria, so it looks like in Australia. Georgia. More and more fires. Continually happening. Why? Because it's the laws of electricity that you cannot disobey. You can't put 928 million hertz into 60 hertz. And you can't have young kids doing it. Here's more fires. A bank of smart meters spontaneously combusting. That's what these guys are fixing right now. Anybody own a building, an apartment complex, a duplex, a fourplex, something like that? Your problem, your fault. Somebody dies in your building. Deal with it. Here's Palo Alto, California. Well, piles of smart meters exploded. None of the analog meters did, though. That's such an odd occurrence. Here's an insurance adjuster. A real threat to the safety of your home. Personally worked with 2 large homeowner fires in which the smart meters were determined as responsible. And Cindy Versure, the hydro rep, says no fires whatsoever. It's absolutely impossible. Here's your electrical trade unions in Australia. Again saying, guys, what are you doing? You can't do this to people's houses. Homeowners' fault in not keeping up with the infrastructure, usually a faulty meter base. That's your problem. They used to replace 40,000 old analog meters per year with new ones. How many fires were having with that? Probably close to 0. Why? You got qualified electricians doing the proper job and the proper allotment of time, not being rushed and not being paid commission. Here's Corex Group of Companies, big bag of cash. This is your fault. Your fault. I'm not an electrician. How am I supposed to be home at the exact time and pull that off and know whether or not that meter base is faulty or not? They're lying through their teeth and backtracking and absolving themselves of liability on Corex's behalf. You never hear Corex coming out and saying anything, do you? So we got BC Hydro, we got Corex, we got homeowners, we got the insurance company. Who cares who's liable? I don't care who's liable. I just want to be safe in my own home. I don't want to get a $50,000 payout because I had a fire in my house and my lungs got damaged, so my insurance company determined that I deserve $50,000. I just want my lungs.
Okay, Mike. So as you can hear, I'm going to give you a couple of numbers and then I'm going to go very quickly to a caller. 2008, 3.6 million smart meters were put in the United States of America. 2009, 5.9 million. 2010, 12.2 million. 2011, 12.6 million. 2012, 10 million. 2013, 5.2 million. 2014, 4.1 million. 2015, 6.7 million. 2016, another 5.9 million smart meters were installed in the United States of America. This is a health issue for each and every one of us, and we need to speak out about this and refuse to remain silent. How are you doing today? And thank you for your call.
Oh, am I on?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Our legislature in Kentucky, I think, has been hijacked by the power industry because they passed a reduction to the credit. If you produce your own electricity now in Kentucky, instead of getting a full kilowatt hour credit, they're only going to give you 30% credit now. So I think everybody needs to watch out for that because Barack Obama in 2012 increased the tariff on imported solar to 35%. And then Trump, I don't know if he decreased it to 30% or if he added another 30% on to imported solar. Right now, there should be armies, swarms of salespeople going across the country offering people a payment of $100 a month on a $10,000 solar power system that is designed to last something like 20 years. Of course, we're in at least the fifth generation, maybe sixth generation in some cases, of solar power efficiency. So Kentucky got ahead of that and reduced the credit back to 30% now. Otherwise, you could easily make up for, even in rainy Kentucky, you could run your meter backwards most of the year and make that $100 payment on that $10,000 solar power system. But they've also this 35% increase on the systems because of these tariffs. It's not supporting domestic solar innovation. It is supporting the long distance distribution model for electricity. In places like Ohio and a lot of the places where there's a lot of urban sprawl, the electricity companies have went to what's called a natural gas peak turbine. These things are hidden in behind shopping centers and industrial parks where the average person does not hear them. But when you have peak usage on air conditioning, these things kick on and stop the brown down from happening for low voltage during really hot or really cold weather when heat pumps and air conditioning are not very efficient. And so home generation of wind and solar, or even in some cases home small hydroelectric power, where you take your surplus wind and solar and pump water into a elevated tank that then you can generate hydroelectric with. This would help in the grid from having brown down problems. But they're trying to eliminate that and create get ahead of this before they lose their monopoly on home electricity. This is what I'm seeing here in our own state of Kentucky. The rural electric co-ops are hurting bad, especially in eastern Kentucky where the economy has been trashed by Obama killing coal. And they're begging for the 16% increase in electricity rates right now because they're losing customers. They have to maintain the same infrastructure for less customers. These smart meters, when they were installed in Puerto Rico, within just a few months, the major industrial customers in Puerto Rico hacked the smart meters to make them show less electricity usage. These things are vulnerable to hackers as soon as they were put on the market. They do not have proper ground. The ground path to ground that's supposed to discharge power spikes is gone on most brands of these. That's why they're blowing up and blowing off of people's meter bases. In addition to, what he's talking about just now, when a contractor puts those meter base, they spring the little spring tabs, which can oxidize. They don't put the oxidation grease on there like you're supposed to, and they force them on, and they spread the little prongs apart, and then they arc, and it causes resistance. Your power usage goes up because of that. They can catch fire and literally blow off the back of people's houses. So we've got to get together.
Can you do me a favor, because I really appreciate your call. I only have 5 minutes left of the show, and I do have another caller. I really would love to hear more from you, and I would really appreciate it if you would possibly call in tomorrow night, because I have some more things that are going to kind of connect with this as well.
Well,
and
I've been working with the Take Back the Power people have sent me several of their videos, and I've aired them locally. So I've been studying the issue. When our legislature did this, I was like, holy moly! The movie recommendation: Eddie Murphy, what's it called? A distinguished gentleman.
Oh, yeah, that's a good movie.
He conned his way into Washington because his name was similar to a senator that died. What's the example in there of corruption is the Power and Light Committee.
Absolutely.
They're really powerful. All right. Thanks
and
for taking
I really do appreciate your call. Please do call back in, and I'm going to get to the next caller before the end of the show. Ken from New York, how are you doing tonight?
Yeah, thank you for taking my call. I agree with the previous caller. I have some experience in electronics. I've been in it most of my life, and I'd like to suggest somebody, you're talking about directed energy using, you could actually use appliances as an energy weapon. There's a guy named Roger Tolces, Tolces. His website is bugsweeps.com, and he was a personal electronics technician for Howard Hughes in his later life. And he's been on some previous shows in the past, and he has the equipment for troubleshooting these type of interference problems and radiation problems. That is talking about the microwave radiation. Uses a $40,000 spectrum analyzer. Basically, he would go around and sweep for bugs, but he does other things. And he had one case involving a microwave oven I don't even want to repeat on the air. If you could get in contact with him, you'd find him as an interesting guest. Long time ago, he'd been on.
I'll have to look in that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Ken. And I just wanted to say, let's remember, I wanted to remind everyone that Tom right now is in the process of transitioning to Arizona. He does miss everybody. He will be back with us. I want to say thank you to Eric of Courtroom Observers. And if you want to find out more about Tyler Whitman's case, you can go to courtroomwatch.org, and there's information about Tyler Whitman's case on there. What do you think about the health effects of these smart meters? It has been declining, but we still have a fight to do. And in future shows later this week or possibly next week, we're going to be discussing solutions. I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. As always, watch your backs, check your facts, Semper Fidelis. Have a wonderful evening.
Somebody's gotta stand up. Somebody's gotta do what's right. We're rising 'cause we're fed up. Got our house in order and got yours inside.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. May 5th is the last day you will hear this offer on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
This is RBN. The Republic Broadcasting Network.